sensor data is a representation of something happening in the physical world, right? It could be a temperature, it could be an image. So just think of all the human senses. But it can also record other things like radiation levels, electrical signals. So the first thing you have to do is you have to acquire that data. And that data can have values.
A new generation of storage devices and the like are coming online. So we're kind of coming out of that sort of, scary period where what do we do with all these bits to how do we make useful business sense out of all these bits.
You can look at a data discovery where you're sticking your fingers in the data and saying, what are the new things that we can learn with this sensor data? Then after you've done that data discovery, you can kind of say, hey, we can determine new patterns. We can find these new ideas. We're seeing a lot of that in healthcare where doctors are being able to put their finger in real-time biomedical information and data, and they're able to find new insights and say, hey, if we see this combination of breathing, heart rate, pulse ox, we might be able to identify a situation where the patient is at risk, and we can now look for that pattern. We can send that rule out to the real-time monitoring device and say, well, if we see this pattern, send someone into the room and be ready to manage that situation.
So essentially we're saying we've got data, we've got the ability to use data to improve the performance of our equipment. Let's not just look at that connected model that we've heard so much about, but also look at an autonomous model. So, looking at the realities of the situation, how your product interacts with your customer and starting to design accordingly.
Streaming analytics, or it's often called real-time analytics, is sort of the first essential thing. Now, the other thing that people want to do is they want to learn from that sensor data. So you also want to take that sensor data in and just simply store it. And then you want to do analytics on it later, usually machine learning or some form of predictive analytics. And that analytics will look at that information, try to find patterns and predictions so that now you can get smarter about your real-time analytics. As it detects a certain pattern in real time, then it can detect a situation, it can detect what to do about it. So really, if you think about it, it's really two things. It's real-time analytics, and then it's some form of predictive analytics so that that whole system can get smarter.
What Teradata brings to the table, like other data warehousing companies, is the ability to compare this data across the organization. To be able to go back 3 years after a device was manufactured and say what was the root cause of that failure and whether or not they should change their assembly operation.